Welcome to the Hometown Hustle, a podcast showcasing small business owners and leaders who are making an impact here in the Rogue Valley. Come join us as we go one-on-one with some of the most inspiring people that call Southern Oregon their home. Now, here's your hosts, Daniel Bufano and Michael O'Coin.
What?
What's up, everybody?
That sounds good.
Sound good?
I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys sound important.
A little bit of AC/DC going on.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we roll.
That's good.
Rock and roll, baby.
I like it.
You should have heard our first intro that we had done. It was like birds chirping and like Van Gogh playing in the background.
This is more fitting. I like this.
You like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good.
Mr. Brendan Larson in the house.
Thank you.
How you feeling, man?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is I've had kind of a quiet morning, so it's like the first time I've talked to people today.
Yeah.
So
Oh, nice.
shaking off the cobwebs.
There you go.
Are you like Alicia Keys? Like you don't talk before you come on a podcast? Like you just save your voice for us beautiful people?
No, dude. I just talk all day long for 12 hours a day right now.
Yeah,
So
tell me
on
about
our
it.
days off, we don't talk. And then we feel weird, like little, like,
Does that include to each other?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Mondays are like, we stay away from each other days. It's intentional. So we get some like personal time on Mondays.
Really?
Yeah. Cause I mean, all week we're in the van together. So very tight quarters in there. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the van, just a quick intro for Mr. Brendan Larson. He is the co-owner with his amazing wife, Jordan Larson, for WheelHouse Coffee. Mm-hmm. And they have a awesome converted Sprinter van that is a coffee truck, essentially.
Yeah.
And it is super sick.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is super cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Glad you can be here. Really cool.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. I was honored that you guys asked me. So I'm stoked.
Your guest numero
Guest
uno,
number
man.
one.
Man.
There's a lot to live up.
Maybe
You
that's
are
like-
setting the bar.
Maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. You're a native of Grants Pass, right? Or of Southern Oregon, at least.
Grants Pass.
You were born here?
Born here. Never left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure you've left at some point.
Well, yeah. Never lived anywhere else.
Is that
Always
right?
lived in Grants Pass.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And
Yep.
how old are you now?
26.
26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 27. So
And recently married, kind of.
2.5 years ago.
2.5
Yeah.
years. Okay.
So April of 19.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jordan is
If you got it wrong, we'll edit it out.
Yeah. It's no worries. She wouldn't remember it either. So it's all good.
I was stalking your Instagram last night, and and one of the phrases that you used was that you definitely married out of your league.
Always.
I agree.
Me too. Yeah. Jordan tries to tell me it's not true, but we all know it's true.
Yeah.
But it's the point.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how you know you scored.
Yeah, I've known her a long time. You know,
Yeah.
back from the Dutch Bros days, and yeah, you married out your league.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think I married out of my
I mean,
league too.
you want to, right? Like nobody's going to sit here and be like, I think I could have done better. So like you want to marry out of your league, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's a good point.
Totally.
I did that on my first marriage.
We'll edit that out too.
You mean where you married and you were like, oh, this is I could have done better.
Oh yeah. So I did
There you go.
a lot better.
Yeah. Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, it takes two tries sometimes.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Tell us about kind of where you started. You know, you grew up here. Your parents are from here, right? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What got you in the coffee business?
Just right out of high school. Well, it was like my second job out of high school. First one, I was a river guide. So like my junior and senior year of high school, I was guiding for Rogue Wilderness Adventures in Merlin.
Okay.
Loved that job. And then from there, had like some weird little in-between jobs, but ultimately I landed at Dutch Bros. And I was there for 6 years, maybe 7 years almost. And I kind of worked my way through. I was leading some events here locally. I assistant managed the shopping center stand. That was kind of my tenure, I guess you would say. Like I was there for like 3.5 years. And then kind of like just decided that that's not where I wanted to be. I think ultimately where I landed was in order to keep going, I had to eventually leave Grants Pass.
Yeah.
And I like it here. And Jordan likes it here. And so we kind of were like, well, if we don't want to leave one day, what does that look like? And I loved the idea of owning something of my own. And so that's kind of how I got into the coffee business. And then we landed where we are now just simply because we saw a need for our community in craft coffee. Like obviously you guys know Grants Pass is flooded with coffee, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like 40,000 people, and we have how many drive-through coffee stands?
20 plus.
Easily.
Yeah.
And somehow they all make money, which is weird, like still blows my mind, right?
Yeah.
But what wasn't being hit was like the craft market.
100%.
And so we saw a need there, and that kind of fit our style a little bit better. Jordan and I love going to coffee shops whenever we travel. It's kind of like our thing. Like, okay, let's find some cool spots. And I think partly what we love is the craft of it, but then also just the beauty of the shop. Like you feel it's like an elevated experience. You know, you walk in, it's this really beautiful place. You get this really beautiful drink, hopefully made by somebody with really good customer service. Sometimes it's not the case.
Right.
But nonetheless, that's why we're here. So yeah.
Now you guys tried to do a brick and mortar. You were doing like a little pop-up there for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So 2 years ago, and this is, I guess, more of like the transition leaving Dutch Bros was, I kind of told them what I wanted to do, and they were pretty honest, which I understood. Like, hey, if you're going to do this, you can't also work for us at the same time. Because in a perfect world, at the time we were doing this business with a couple of our friends, and it was called Home Coffee. And we were just going to be doing a few small pop-ups. And so I was trying to play it to where I could do these small pop-ups, but also still have like a job, you know, as just even a barista, just to have some sort of income. Cause it was going to be, we had like 4 pop-ups for, I think, the month of October out at Fort Noy Farms. But then that was really all we had lined up. And it was kind of like a proof of concept to see like how the community would react to it. And so they told me like, you know, hey, you can't, it's a conflict of interest ultimately. And I understood that. And so that's when I left Dutch Bros. And then that was right before COVID. So that was the October of 19. October of 19. Yeah. And then, so we did that, and the community responded to it really well.
Yeah.
We had huge success, even just for being out at Fort Noy Farms, which was really cool. And so we took the next few months to try to find a brick and mortar. And so we had found a location downtown on H Street. There was a few bummer things that came up from it, but ultimately it fell through. And it was kind of pulled out from under us a little bit. And we were really bummed at the time. And then this was like a month before lockdown.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, boom, businesses are locked down, everything's closed. And looking back, are like, that was a dodge bullet. You know what I mean? So we're super, super thankful for that. So that kind of led us into this kind of where do we go from here position. Mobile was never our first choice, regarding to the van. And so that's we kind of landed there that's the safest feeling with COVID. Everything's to go, it's outside. If something were to happen, like they can't close us down. So, from a financial perspective, that seemed the safest. But it also gave us like a little bit more of like a stepping stone, rather than going from this tiny little push cart to full blown brick and mortar with like a ton of overhead and having to have employees and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of where we are.
The funny thing is that you're mobile, but you're not.
No. It stays there. Yeah. On paper, we're a mobile unit, but there's not much that's mobile about it. It'll move.
It'll move.
Yeah.
On its own.
Yeah. I did it the other day, but it only had to move like 3 feet. So yeah. And now it's not going anywhere. There's a tent and all sorts of stuff. So
isn't that kind of cool though? Like your situation on H Street, whatever that was, didn't work out. Yeah. Like I've had some instances in my life where it was like, shit just completely fell apart. And like at the time you're freaking out, right? Same instance. But my dad told me at this one point, he's like, don't be so quick to judge what's a blessing and what's a curse. Cause you never really know.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
And it very well could have been the best thing for you.
Totally. Yeah. I could not imagine cause the location we were looking at was for probably the last 10 years, just storage. And so it was going to need $100,000, build out easily. Floor drains, cut into the concrete, water, like the whole 9 yards. And it would have been cool, but the idea of spending $200,000 and then having to close the moment you open, seems like, looking back, like a recipe for disaster. So yeah, 100%.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how did the process go building the van?
So we
What was the vision?
Yeah, we went through probably like 6 months of kind of like, what are we doing? You know, like I wasn't working at the time. I was unemployed. Jordan was working at the church, and that was a really weird time in our lives, like emotionally, like what are we doing? Where do we go? And almost like choice anxiety, like we could do anything. And that's almost worse, you know? Yeah. You need some sort of like avenue. And so we decided that we still wanted to do coffee. Finally, that's kind of how we landed. And then we were actually on a road trip. And at first I was like, well, what if we buy these Sprinter vans and build them and convert them into campers and then sell them? Like that would be our business. And that's kind of what we thought we were going to do. And then we came to find out that because of COVID, Sprinter van, any van is, first of all, outrageously overpriced and impossible to get. And so we were like, okay, this is not going to work. So we decided, okay, let's still do coffee, but how could we build, like, could we kind of mix all of that? Like, could we take the idea of like a really cool, like Sprinter van kind of conversion, but also make it feel like it's a cafe and you serve coffee out of it, you know? And cause the thing that I've always strayed away from with mobile stuff is like everything's stainless steel and like, or dirty, you know, it's like, you've never walked up to many food trucks and been like, this is really, really nice, you know?
Yeah.
Like most of them, and their food is still great normally, you know, but some you walk
probably
up
the best food,
probably the best food.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason maybe, I don't know, but you walk up and you're like, this is pretty gnarly, you know, but
the food carts in Portland are like
totally. Yeah. No.
But some of the best food I've ever had.
Totally. And I've heard some stories that would make you probably not go back, but you still like you don't want to know it because you still want to go back. Of course. You know what I'm saying? So our goal was like, how can we build a van that is still aesthetically beautiful to represent a cafe? Yeah. So when you walk up, you would have that same kind of feeling, and then still serve like an elevated product out of it. And so, we bought the van in November. And that it probably took me longer to find the van than it did to build it.
I bet.
Just because they're so overpriced, and I would find them, and most of them are old work vans. And so the weirdest thing, they would have all these dents from the inside because of things falling over or boxes. And so you can't like fix those. Like
they're usually dimpled.
You dimple. Yeah. So dents from like the outside in, you can like get some PDR done or something like that, but not from the inside out. Like it just looks like somebody had a paintball gun in there and they were going to town, you know?
Yeah.
So I found, this is actually kind of a funny story. I was on my way to Medford Airport to fly to LA to buy this van, sight unseen. I just needed to get one eventually. And it needed like a little bit of body work done, but I was like, okay, I'll pay somebody to do that. And I'm on the way to the airport and it's like 5 a.m. and I tell Jordan, like, I should probably try to find like a plan B just in case this thing falls through or it's just absolutely a piece of garbage. And so I opened like Facebook Marketplace and there's a van just outside LA that was posted 20 minutes ago that was like way better and like nicer. It was a little bit older, but it had less miles and it was a way better deal. It was like $6,000 less than I was going to spend.
Nice.
So I hit this guy up and I'm like, hey, I'm flying to LA right now. I'll come buy it. And so I ended up like on the flight, ditching the guy that I was originally going to buy the van from and going and buying this van instead for way less. But then that was like a whole ordeal because I had this cashier's check that was made out to this original guy. And then I needed to pay this dude and I'm in LA. So I'm like walking into a Chase Bank, trying to explain to them that like, I bank here and this is my money and I need a new cashier's check. And they think I'm like trying to steal, you know, like nobody would help me. So that was a nightmare. So finally we got that all kind of handled and I drove it home. And then it took about 5 months to build, which it's just like weird going into it. Like it's easy to get a lot of vision and you watch YouTube videos and you look at Pinterest and you're like, dude, we can do this. Like,
oh yeah,
I watch people do something. I can do that. You know,
YouTube, man.
Yeah. And then you try to do it and you're like, this is horrible. And so every day I'm just smacking my head against the wall thinking like, why am I doing this?
It's like trying to cook recipes off Pinterest.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. It's just not happening. So, but eventually it did. And we got to the end product and we loved how it looked and how it came out. And it took about 5 months and I wasn't working at the time. So I was working on that instead about 8 hours a day, every day. So, yep.
So who's the visionary though? Like who came up with the style? Was that a little bit of both of you or
I think a little bit of both?
Let's be careful. Jordan's not here to...
He'll be nice.
I'll be fair. I'll be fair. Trust me. I would say, she would say too, a little bit of both. I think she is artistically like gifted beyond measure. She doesn't think she is, but she is. You know,
she's very modest.
Sounds like Jordan.
Too modest. She just has an amazing like design and style. But I also have the logical brain, you know, that says like, that's great, but how can we make it actually work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, yeah, cool. Let's have this shelf with this plant, but like, that's not going to work because you're going to smack your head on it every day because it's going to be right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so that kind of stuff. So we definitely worked together on that. Because putting the van together was a bit of like a game of Tetris, because everything I was going online and buying all this equipment, but the equipment was 3 months out. And so I couldn't wait for the equipment to get here to start building like cabinets. So I'm online trying to read like the product dimensions, which are never accurate. And then like, okay, so this, you know, oven is 27 inches wide. So I'm going to build my cabinet to 27 and a half and hope it fits. Yeah. And thankfully it all did. But I think that's where both of our strengths kind of complemented one another, because she could come up with, you know, a bunch of ideas for design or paint color or, even just like layout.
White? You mean like white paint?
White paint, man. Black cabinets, white paint, blue tile.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Like, what choice was there? It's just white.
Dude, there's a lot of whites, bro.
Okay.
There's a
lot of whites, man.
It's pretty funny that there's that many whites. But anyway, sorry.
It's actually frustrating. Like, why can't there be? See, I'm the person who's like, there should be one white and one black. And like, you know what I mean? Like we can, and then one gray. Like we don't need 17 shades in between. But nonetheless, so yeah, I think that's where we work together really well on that, and yeah, kind of complement one another.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful, and I'm sure we'll see pictures and stuff of it because it's amazing.
Yeah,
for those you guys just celebrated a little anniversary, right? Or 6 months?
6 months.
6 months.
Yep.
Okay.
So 6 months would have been on the 8th. Okay. Yeah. So.
And I love the thing that you're doing with the pop-up pancakes too, with Murphy's pancakes. I think that's super cool.
That's been awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that's been such a cool thing. And that's like the goal, you know, is to collaborate with other local people.
Right. Yeah. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's like if we succeed, we all succeed kind of thing. And so she's like just the best. She's the nicest person, has like, I've never seen her upset at anything. She's always in this great mood. And so I remember getting pancakes from her years ago when she was like doing it down on G Street, and I didn't even know who she was. And then she started coming by and we started talking, and the setup that she had before wasn't the best. She was kind of doing this drive-through thing, and part of that was because of COVID. And so thankfully we were able to work with the weekend and kind of put that all together. And the first one was like a little too crazy. Like, I don't know if either of you came to it.
I drove by and kept on driving.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I legitimately think there was 400 people there.
At least.
At
That's
least.
insane.
Yeah. And which is awesome. Yeah. But at the same time, you're like not prepared. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It reminded me of the weekend's grand opening.
For sure. It was easily as busy.
That grand opening weekend.
Yes.
It was like cars were parked up the street, down at Shell gas station. People were walking.
Which is like, I think just a test.
And all I wanted was a coffee. I didn't even want pancakes.
Well, that's the part. I felt so bad for the people that would show up like completely unknowing that was happening that day.
Right.
And they're just trying to get their latte, you know, and there's like a 30-minute wait for a latte. I'm like, I'm sorry, but they get it. You know, people are really forgiving. And I think that those events are a testament to show that people in Grants Pass are excited for something new. And they just want something to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
they really do.
If people are given the avenue to do something, people will come, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. And we didn't really touch on this, but for those who are listening, that WheelHouse Coffee is located at Weekend Beer Company.
Yes.
Which is this super rad brew house, and they have this outdoor venue with a couple of other trucks, food trucks specifically, not coffee trucks, but food trucks. And then Sherry Murphy is who does the pop-up pancake deal. Yes. And she's been doing that for years, where it was just like one Saturday every couple of months, she'd, do this pop-up pancake deal, which she's famous for that. And so now you guys are collaborating with her at Weekend Beer Company doing this once a month, right?
So it's every second Saturday of the month. Yeah. So once a month.
That's cool.
Yep.
And so she does like different flavors of pancakes and like different kinds of syrups and like different kinds of stuff, right? It's and it's not all available all the time. Like she just has like that one specific pancake that she's doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. She makes her own syrups. So I think every every one of those syrup flavors, they kind of rotate.
That's pretty
cool. There's like blueberry lemon and all the, but they're all handcrafted. They're really good.
Yeah.
So it also kind of complements what we're doing as well, where it's not just, off the shelf kind of stuff, and it's more craft.
Handcrafted coffee and handcrafted pancakes.
That's what you want, man. Right there.
Handcrafted beer.
Yeah.
Handcrafted burgers.
Well, the problem with us being there in the morning now is maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but people don't have to leave. So like, people, you too. Yeah. So it's like
Guilty as
I
charged.
legitimately see people 3 to 4 times a day now, because they'll come early, get a coffee, then they show up for lunch and get a beer. And then they come after they're off work and get a couple more beers and dinner, so
we're not the only ones,
bro. I promise you guys scratch the surface. I promise.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. But it's good. I mean, and I think, again, it goes to show, like, where else are you going to go do that in Grants Pass?
I've seen a couple people that go up there with their laptops and don't leave for the day.
Easily. Yes.
I mean,
yep.
Yeah.
And the weekend has like fiber optic internet now.
Yeah.
So more internet than you could ever want.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We'll probably get Chelsea or Troy on here at some point.
You should.
Yeah. That'd be great
awesome.
for it. Troy can just talk till the cows come home.
Dude, just get him rolling and he'll go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. You just ask him questions or stories about like his time in the military, and he'll let you know.
He gets really excited about that.
I love it. He's awesome.
For sure. Well, I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit.
For sure.
So you're a super inspiring guy. Like, there's a reason why you are guest number 1 on our podcast.
Thank you.
Just easy to talk to, super inspiring. One of the things that I noticed in the questionnaire that we sent you was that your biggest inspiration was your papa.
Yeah.
Tell me about your papa and what he means to you and all that.
Man, so it's like, where do I begin? So, this is where my brain struggles, because I'm like Mr. Context, know? So my brain's like, how far back do I go?
Yeah.
So anyway, ultimately, like, I grew up with a single mom. Mm-hmm. My dad had made some poor choices with drugs and stuff, so he spent some time away. And so it's just really like my mom and me and my little brother growing up. And my papa is my dad's dad. So, other than marriage, unrelated to my mom. And he really just like took care of her. Like, he'd always kind of flip her money, and he'd call it, his fun money. And he actually bought a house here in town just specifically to rent to her, because obviously she couldn't afford like an actual rental.
Right.
And so just things like that. And so I grew up at their house all the time, and always just really looked up to him. He was just always this kind of mellow, kind of soft spoken, but like was always getting stuff done. And his kind of claim to fame here locally. So he moved up here, I think in the 60s or maybe 50s with his wife. And they bought, it was like him and his cousin, and they bought all of Colonial Valley. And so he developed like all of Colonial Valley and like a lot of the Merlin industrial complex.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And so I
live in Colonial Valley, actually.
Do you really? Okay, so where do you live?
I live on Irina.
Okay, so you know Eric Loop?
Yep.
So that's named after my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yep, totally.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so my dad's Eric.
So
Eric Larson.
The other girl on our team, Kayla, lives on Eric Loop.
There you go. Yep. And then, so where we live right now, so get down Camp Joy Road, there's 2 roads, Melinda Way and Suzanne Court. Mm-hmm. So that's my aunt and my Nana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's just kind of cool. And it always fascinated me, because he came up here with like, nothing. It wasn't like he came up here with a bunch of money. It was his cousin. It was his cousin or his brother. I don't remember, but I guess it would have been his brother. So he was a builder, so he'd build homes. And then Mike Larson, my papa, would sell them.
Right.
So where Tamarand's dispensary is, that used to be Mike Larson Realty back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And so before he died, he wanted to go in there and like, even though it was a dispensary, like wanted to go in there and check it out. And, this was my old office. And that was kind of cool. And then when I was young, I have vivid memories of, I don't know if you're familiar with like Twin Pines RV Park.
Yeah.
On Merlin Gleese Road.
Yep.
That was his. So he built that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I have pictures of me and I'm really little. And so that's kind of where he came up. And then his probably biggest accomplishment was he built a 48-foot sailboat by hand, just for fun.
That's his biggest accomplishment, when he developed all of Colonial Valley.
Maybe he would say, like, you know what I mean? Like, it took him 8 years, built it by hand, and he was in the paper, and we have this cutout of it, and he got kind of like recognized because he went into whatever, hardware store here was local, and was like, I need 10,000 pounds of lead. And they kind of thought, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, really, I need 10,000 pounds of lead. Like, where can I get it? And it was for the ballast or whatever the weight is in the bottom of the boat, And then And so it took him like 8 years to build it, had it for 7 years out in the ocean up in Astoria, and then it burnt down.
Oh, wow.
No. Out to sea. Yeah.
It burnt on the ocean.
Yeah, it sounds weird, right? So there was like a propane leak or something. And so he hopped in the dinghy and watched it all burn into the ocean.
Oh, wow. Man.
Yeah, man. So he's just such an interesting guy, and just growing up around him, I think I always just really looked up to him a lot. And then when he had, at the end of his life, he had esophageal cancer. And so it was just him. And then right after Jordan and I got married, he like passed away like a week later, which was like such a bummer. We were so sad. We were on our honeymoon when we found out, but we didn't, unbeknownst to us, like he left us his home for us, which was like the biggest blessing in the world. So,
and you didn't know that at the time?
I had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where we live now, is in his old home.
Okay. Well, that's
which
cool.
is really cool. So a lot of what we're doing today is only possible because of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So we're always talking all the time, like, Papa would be really proud of this, or, you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's really cool. That's right.
Yep.
I'm glad I asked that.
Totally. So I think, that was a hard one, because I'm not like a, this celebrity. I like them,
not yet.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm boasting the podcast here. Maybe we'll just launch you into stardom with our 2 subscribers that we have right now.
We'll get more. Hey, start small. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I've never been allured by like, the famous person or like, what's the word? Like starstruck or, anything like that. So I think that was kind of the most like authentic answer. I was like, that makes really good sense. Yeah.
And then when you hear the story, it all
for sure. Yeah. There's context. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, my boy Ryan, he's 3, and his papa is going to be his inspiration.
Totally.
I mean,
you've told me he's out there sanding anything he can or whatever.
So I get it. Yeah. I'm not going to be it. I guarantee that.
No. Well, and maybe that's the thing, is it skips a generation. Cause like,
I guess,
my dad, I guess my dad's not my greatest inspiration. I love his dad, but
that didn't happen in my family. My dad is definitely my biggest inspiration. So.
That's awesome.
But a lot like your dad, my dad has been sober for 30 years now. So
that's awesome.
He was in, I'm 35 years old. So he got clean when I was like 5 years old and completely changed his life around.
That's so rad.
And he means everything to me.
Yeah.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you get them all from
totally
whatever place you can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And shout out to my dad. He's been clean sober since, I don't even know, a long time. Yeah. So that was, an early stage in my life, but now he lives in like South Carolina. So he's doing it over there.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
So where's the next phase for WheelHouse? Where's it going? Where's your vision for it? You and Jordan.
Next phase. This is a question that we're always asking ourselves, because we want to have vision and we want to, have a trajectory in a direction, but we also don't want to pin ourselves in a corner too much to where we're saying no to opportunities that could be good. And so ultimately, like, the long term is a cafe. We still think a brick and mortar can't be beat in that regard. And especially to showcase what it is that we want to bring to Grants Pass. I can only do that so much in 14 feet, like I need more.
You do a good job at it, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And so that's the next thing. The most immediate thing is probably hiring people. That's kind of like the bridge. I think that's next to cross.
Yeah.
Which is like scary in a way, but really also exciting, but that's definitely, I think, the next bridge, because we're just hitting the point where it's been 6 months and it's just the two of us, but we're running out of time. Like, there's so many ideas that we have and things that we want to do, and I just can't do it because I'm there for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so not only are we exhausted, we, get done, we go home, we make dinner, we, watch Netflix, when we go to bed, we wake up at 5 a.m. and do it again.
Yeah.
I don't have time to sit down and come up with marketing strategies or put out content or come up with, what the next thing, or go look at buildings or just any of that. Yeah. Because a lot of that's like needs to be done during the weekday and I can't,
Yeah, right.
So the idea of hiring people to buy back that time for us to be able to have that freedom, that's the next step, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
You have to, man.
Totally.
Like,
totally.
You know that.
Yeah.
We don't have to tell you that.
Right.
But it's a struggle too, because you and Jordan have created this environment and this community within your customer and clientele that, hiring somebody to give that out, that same emotion and stuff like that, it's gonna be a chore.
Totally. Yeah. 100%. And I think that's not the biggest worry, but the thing that's in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's culture.
It is. It's culture. And I think ultimately I'm not looking for another me.
No.
You know, I don't want just another Brendan in there.
No.
But I want somebody who is equally as personable or likes people as much or can hold a conversation, you know, because I think everybody, when you hire people, they bring their own culture. So culture is this weird building block of all these really cool individuals that create this really cool mosaic.
Yeah.
It's just picking the right stained pieces of glass.
Really well put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was just going to say that, like, the same thing. Like, those people are going to have their own personalities. That's going to add to the value that WheelHouse Coffee already has.
For sure.
You know, like, they don't need to be you.
Right.
You know, so
and I don't want them to be.
No, you don't want them to.
Yeah. Totally.
But I think that both you and Jordan have that kind of personality where your energy and your passion for what you do is going to spread to whoever you hire. Maybe not all of them. I mean, you probably experience that with Dutch Brothers. Not every hire works out, but but you guys have that kind of personality and that kind of passion that I think would spread pretty easily.
Man. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's obvious to me. So like, you come there, you can just feel it. It's a really cool vibe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate you saying that. Jordan and I always say, like, the day that we'll, you know, look at each other and be like, this is awesome, is when we can come as a customer. Right. And we have employees and they're like, we get to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
You know, because we're on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And so it's like just to walk in and like get a morning cup of coffee and like sit and read a book and just like watch it all happen. Like, that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So
I dig it.
thanks, man.
Yeah. Gosh, what else?
Yeah. What else you got for me?
I know we have more questions. I want to know about, sorry, I'm asking all the personal questions.
No,
and
it's
Michael's
good.
asking all the business questions.
I'm an open book. So keep it cut.
It's why we make a good pair.
It's like a weird good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Tell me about Taekwondo.
So
I've heard you kick some ass, man.
something like that. So, man, when I was, how old would I have been? 9, maybe 8. I don't know. 7. Really young. I can't remember. My mom came to me because, like I said before, she was single, so it's not like she had all this money, and sports is expensive. And I was playing basketball at the time. I think I was doing soccer, and I was not the most like athletic in terms of conditioning. Like, I was really technical, but not like, I was the kid who's like, I have a side ache, you know, like every single game. And I just wanted the Capri Sun and the gummy worms and to go home. And so she asked me, I remember she asked me like, okay, do you want to do basketball or do you want to do martial arts? And I think I chose martial arts just because it sounded cool. I was like, that's different. No, I don't know anyone who does martial arts. So there used to be a place downtown next to the post office called Birkin Betancourt Taekwondo.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And so Kevin Burke was the guy who owned it. And I ended up going there for 8 years. So in that process, obtained a 2nd degree black belt.
Wow.
Won 2 state championships. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
For I preface, it was for what's called forms. So it's like a choreographed routine, essentially, that showcased like your skills at that level.
So you're not actually a fighter then?
I never was.
You're a poser is what I'm just
Oh,
that hurts.
Easy.
Wow.
Oh, that stings.
There comes the digs. There comes the digs. No, I'm totally kidding.
No. Well, it's funny because, like I said before, I wasn't like the most, you know, athletic at the time in regards to like stamina and, you know, like, so like the idea of fighting somebody for this prolonged period of time and getting like kicked in the gut
never
like,
appealed to you.
That didn't appeal to me. But what did was like being really technical with my body and showcasing that the best I could. And I was good at it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just was. So yeah. I won, which looking back, it's like, I don't think because I was young, so I think it was just fun, you know, but looking back, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like we'd go up to Portland and I won 2 state championships in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. For forms.
I've played a lot of sports in my life and I've never won anything. So that's, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think I ended up quitting. So you get your 1st degree and then there's 9 degrees under that.
Wow.
And there's probably only, I mean, I don't know. There's probably a handful of 9th degree black belts in the world, right? You get into like even Kevin Burke, who owned that facility. I think I watched him test for his 5th degree, and he was in his 40s, 50s, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I was 12, maybe I was 13, and I got my 2nd degree black belt. And I did that. I had that for maybe like 6 months. And
That
then
was quick.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of get there quick. You know, I think you can be, I was really young for it, but you can be easily 13, 14 and be a 1st degree black belt. But then to test for your 3rd degree, I think you had to be 17. And I was 13 at the time. So the idea of 4 more years of just this one thing, I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. And I was like 7th grader, almost 8th grader, probably going into high school soon, thinking like, I'm over this. I'm good. So I always kind of wonder, like, it'd be fun to go back and do something else. Like, I'd love to do like some jujitsu or something like that. Yeah. Because it's very technical. Yeah. And I'm older now, so I think I'd enjoy the athletic aspect of fighting or grappling or something like that. Yeah. But yep, that's one of the things that I kind of keep under wraps. I don't know why. I always have. So it's been my back pocket. Now everyone knows, I guess. But
yeah, everybody.
All two of your subscribers.
Subscriber 1 and subscriber 2.
I'll be your 3rd.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so that's my little back pocket.
Okay.
So I did some martial arts when I was a kid, but not like I went. What I remember is like maybe a handful of times, and I was the kind of kid who thought he was just like tight at everything, and I probably talked a lot of shit, and I remember very vividly sparring with a girl who was a black belt, and I was probably like a white or yellow belt or something like that, like very, very early on, and I remember she sidekicked me in the stomach, and I never went back.
Nope.
I cried.
You couldn't breathe.
I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. She kicked my ass. I got my ass kicked by a girl, and I never played.
I never came back.
Yeah. This is not cool.
Dude, I've been there. I've been on the floor in Portland crying because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Like the first time I ever got the wind knocked out of me, I thought I was dying.
Oh, that's the most miserable feeling in the world.
I thought it was the end. This was all I had.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
So are you guys are you planning on having kids or anything like that? I'm starting to ask
or just the 2 cats.
Or just the 2
like
cats.
That? Yeah. Well, when I answer that question, I'm like sitting on the computer and I have these literally cat on both sides of me. I'm thinking this is our life. Our 2 cats. No, we want kids for sure. We're just in a different place right now.
Yeah.
You know,
take your time, dude.
Every single one of our friends has kids, except like 1 or 2 couples that I can think of. And so there's moments where we have a little bit of FOMO or like, hey, we feel left out. But I get this all the time, the head shake. And
I wait until I was 45.
Yeah, yeah. I'll find somewhere happy in the middle. But, you know, but like the thought of having a kid now, if it happened, awesome. But we're certainly not trying. And if it did happen, it would cause like probably some stress, you know, just we don't have time for that. And we want it. And so when that day comes, we want to feel like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We're prepared. We're ready for this. Cause we definitely want kids for sure.
So how long were you guys together before you got married?
So I'm going to say about, I got to think about it. About 2 years.
So 2 years and then you got married and you've been married for 2.5.
2.5.
So you essentially have been together for 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. That is not a long time.
No, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
100%.
Be married, be with each other. This is my advice for you. Be with each other, spend as much time as you possibly can, travel, do things that you wouldn't be able to do as easily without kids.
Travel.
And then have kids, but travel. I know you like to travel because I've stalked your Instagram pages. You know, so you have that pop-up tent thing on your Land Cruiser, and
yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's been mentally the biggest hurdle with this new business is realizing like we can't for a little while. Travel.
It's another reason to hire people.
Yeah, no, for real. I get that. You know, and so that because before we had so much flexibility. Because we both were working at Edgewater for a season, which when you're working in ministry, you have a lot, like there's 1 day a week where you have meetings.
Right.
The rest you're on your own. And so you have a lot of freedom. And so even if it's a quick day trip or a weekend to Portland or to Bend, and now we don't have that, you know? So like we have a 4-day, we might get 4.5 days off coming up. With like Thanksgiving and the way it lands. Yeah. And so we're like, let's go to Disneyland. Like we're just like, what can we fit in 4 days? You know,
I'm literally going to Disneyland next week.
Are you really? Yeah. So we very well might. So we're just trying to get better at like, okay, we just got crammed in, you know, because we love it. It's important to us. Before, you know, we honeymooned in Italy. before that.
Oh, that's amazing, dude. So jealous.
Dude, that was 2 weeks. Wasn't even enough time to scratch the surface. We've been to Iceland together.
Yep. I've been there twice.
Dude, epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My favorite place on earth.
Yeah. Literally. It's so cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely want to get back to that. But yeah, Grants Pass is also, we talk about this a lot, this weird bubble where when I look at my friends and in our friend group and even just the culture here, like you get married really young and then you have kids really young and that's like normal and it's cool. Like, that's totally fine. But you go anywhere else, like go to Portland and find me a group of 5 dudes, because this actually happened here. 5 dudes that grew up together and they all got married the same summer and now 3 of them have kids. You know what I mean? Like that was my friend group.
Right.
All at 23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
Like, you're just not going to find that anywhere else. Everywhere else, it's like people are focused on their career and their job or their future or their whatever. And so neither is good or bad, but when you're here and you're not kind of in that, you're not doing that trajectory, you feel like, oh, is there something wrong? Like, are we not doing this right? But there is not a right or wrong, you know?
No, there's not. Because my kids, and I'm sure Michael could say the same thing, my kids are like the biggest blessing I've ever had in my life. They're just, as soon as you have kids, you'll know.
Totally, I'm sure.
You know, like, it's just this insane feeling. However, like, if you have kids when you're so young, like you guys are, you won't be able to be with each other
right
until those kids are out of high school. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Or like,
yeah,
you know, like when they go to college, like you just won't have that time together. And so, obviously if you have kids, it'd be great, but
yeah,
that would be my suggestion is spend the time together. 'Cause it's important for sure.
I will take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
good.
Anyway.
Yeah. Traveling's amazing. If I recommend anybody, you know, my day's spent in coffee house, you know, with Jordan and stuff like that. So I always told him, you know, my biggest advice I can give any young person in this town is to get out, travel, because it's like a black hole, man. This place 100%. Just sucks. The bubble, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you know, people get married so young here, have kids so young here, you know, fall into just a regular job or whatever. But travel, travel is amazing. So
for sure, yeah. And I think it shows you, you know, how good you do have it in some regard. You know, like growing up here, most everybody is like, screw Grants Pass, I'm out of here. This place sucks. And then I always joke that they all come back, you know, because you go to Portland and you go wherever and there's beauty to it. But then you also are like, oh, this is kind of just as sucky. Yeah. You know,
go spend a weekend in the 405 down in LA.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
you're
bring
like,
me back.
Dude, Grants Pass is sick. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it broadens your horizons to realize like, oh, that was pretty good. You know, like, oh, cool. So
I think Grants Pass is literally one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
I think it's very, very unique.
Yeah.
Very. Yep.
Yeah. Just how it kind of like all sits in the mountains and the trees and the river. And
yes,
it's just, I think it's awesome.
I think, and maybe I don't want to shoot too high here, but I think 10 years Grants Pass is like the next Bend, Oregon, you know? And I think that could have happened 30 years ago. I think things like blocked that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I really do think like if people stay here and they invest their money, time, resources, it can easily happen. Cause it's this very weird kind of, what's like coming together of the proximity of where we are in regards to like, we're 3 hours to Bend, 4 hours to Portland, 2 hours to the coast, 2 hours to California. And really coming up from California, we're the best way to the coast. Unless you go through kind of some weird little Wairika or Eureka, I don't know which one, you know, but like there's so much travel along that. Like when I was working for Dutch Bros, I started Graveyard at Ringette down on Redwood Highway. And it blew my mind how many people from the coast drive to Grants Pass weekly just to go grocery shopping.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if that is the case on a small scale, like what's the case on a big scale, you know, and what could be capitalized on because of just the amount of people coming through.
Yeah,
you know?
we don't get political on this one though.
Is there? Am I being political?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, for Grants Pass to go there, I mean, there's a lot of politics in place with our local government and stuff that needs to change.
And that's why maybe I should extend that to 20 years.
There you go. We just need some youth in there. We need different thinking in our city council and stuff like that to change that. But
I think the hope is that people, you know, like you had said, we need youth, you know, and what's happened for so long is those people that are young with ideas and energy, they just leave. because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that can change.
Yeah.
Well, I think that like with what Trav is doing with the Dutch Brothers and what Trav is doing with the Flying Lark and the Grants Pass Downs, I think is leading people to think that way.
For sure.
You know, like he's definitely the example. And I do think that, like Michael and I both know, and I'm sure you're aware too, there are a lot of really, really, really successful companies in Southern Oregon.
Yes.
That are doing a ton of business that nobody even knows about.
Dude, no one knows.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Right.
Yep.
And so I just, if we can get companies like that involved the way that Trav is getting involved in the community, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
That Grants Pass could be something spectacular.
Yeah, it could be awesome.
Yeah.
Because they got the river. I mean, when I was river guiding for Rogue Wilderness, it gave me, I think, like a deep appreciation for this area, because you'd have people, you know, I did day trips. So a new group of people every single day, which I loved. It kept it fresh. And I'd always ask, you know, where
you could tell the same jokes and they're always laughing.
They're always laughing. I could just lie the whole time. Everything was great, you know. No, but I'd ask them, where are you from? You know, all that kind of stuff. And most of them are from out of town, and some of them were from other parts of the country or other parts of the world.
Yeah,
you know, what
other
I mean?
countries.
Yeah, other countries. You know, Germany, France, the UK. I mean, just Russia, just some of the craziest places. And I'd always ask them, like, why? What brought you here, or where are you heading? Because to me, I always figured that like this was like a pass through.
A stopping
you know,
point
hey,
for somewhere
we're
else,
going to Portland and let's stop in Grants Pass and do this cool river thing. That'll be fun. And like, no, what I came to find out was this was the destination.
Yeah.
They came to do this, like to go down the Rogue River and go whitewater rafting.
Right.
And I live here and I grew up doing it, and it was no big deal. Like, and that gave me this kind of deep appreciation for it and what it actually is to people who don't live here.
Right.
Like, wow, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So
it sounds very similar. My hometown is the Monterey Peninsula. Like I went to Carmel High School. I don't know if you're familiar with Carmel, but it's Carmel Beach is like one of the most famous beaches in the world. And then there's like the Big Sur coastline, which is one of the most gorgeous coastlines you could ever live in.
Wow.
And then Carmel is also home to Pebble Beach, which is the golf course.
Yep.
And there's more golf courses out there than coffee stands in Grants Pass.
Totally.
Yeah. And so, but I pretty much grew up there my whole life, and I didn't go to Carmel Beach until I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
That was the first time I'd ever even been to Carmel Beach. And I still, to this day, have never played a round of golf on any of those golf courses.
No way.
Yes.
You might have to, just to say.
Well, it's just funny. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, but
when you grow up close to it, you don't appreciate it.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in some of my travels and stuff like that, you tell people where you're from, and it's like, then you know, Ashland, Rogue River, that kind of things. And it'd be amazing how many people go to Ashland for the Shakespearean Festival.
A lot.
From around the world.
Yes.
I mean,
This is
it's
so
a
crazy.
big deal, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that and the Brit and everything else. But
Yep.
I mean, it's definitely a destination.
It is.
You know,
100%.
And I think, you know, I would love to see the vision come back. What Brady Adams with Evergreen Bank, he had probably 15 years ago now. But I mean, downtown Riverwalk.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to turn into the, Whitewater Park and everything. I mean, it was a great vision, and I'd love to see that come back.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in.
Yeah, right.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Small steps though.
Small steps.
Yeah.
Let's get you an employee. So anybody out there looking for a job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on by. Get to know us.
Yeah. Do you have any prospects for that?
Yeah, I think we're always like looking at people in the back of my mind. You know, the best hires I've ever had were people that weren't looking. And so I'm always looking.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, everybody who buys a drink is a potential hire to me.
Yeah.
Except you guys. No, just kidding. No, but really, like,
I'd love to, man, but sorry.
come on in. You might not fit.
Inside the van?
You're not. No. What? How
probably
tall
not.
are you?
Oh, I'm like 6'2", so
Yeah, nope, not gonna happen. But we need to have a sign like, you must be this high to ride the ride, you know. But when I was working at Dutch Bros, I mean, I hired, probably well over 40 people, and had to fire some too. And so that part, it like finding winners isn't necessarily like unfamiliar, but when the market is how it is already, nobody can find people to work, and then we only see so many people a day, and most of those people are the same people.
Yeah.
And so, but regardless, we're always keeping our eyes open.
Yeah.
You know, because if you can talk to me as just a customer and you're great, then I know you'll be great as an employee. because I already don't have to teach you that the importance of like connecting with a human is, you know, if you, for lack of a better word, if you suck as a customer, you're probably going to suck as an employee.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was this one little prospect. There was like these 2 high school girls that were coming on like late start Wednesdays they have at Grants Pass. And I told Jordan, I was like, we're going to hire her. Like she was like a senior in high school and was like, could hold a conversation, ask us how we were. She's super friendly, super nice. And like nowadays that's getting even more and more
hard to find.
Rare,
for sure.
especially at that age.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most of them, I'm like, ask a question and it's like deer in the headlights. And they look back at their phone, you know? And so I told Jordan, I was like, dude, we're going to hire her. Like that she would be amazing. And like the next week I go through Dutch Bros and she works at Dutch Bros. I was like, dang it.
Poach them.
Yeah, I know. So, but you know, it's just funny.
You didn't hear that, Trav. Sorry.
No, it's funny though. Cause it's like, that's why they get the best people is because they're always hiring. They're always hiring. They're always looking. They're always, you know, and so those people gravitate there. So, we have the same kind of, you know,
You'll find somebody.
yeah, we'll find it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it'll happen. Yep.
How we doing on time, boss? Because I got one more question.
Go for it. This will be This will be it.
It's already been 51 minutes.
Yeah.
This is fun. Keep going.
Send it.
You can see how Joe Rogan's podcast lasts 3 hours.
Dude, easy, man. You just chat. You just talk. It's fun. It's easy, you know.
It is cool.
Yeah.
When you're having good conversation, it's cool for sure.
It's fun.
All right. Last question.
Okay.
Dutch Brothers, obviously, huge company now.
Yes.
Right? I don't need to go into that. But what do you think was the biggest lesson you learned from working at a company like that? And then 2-part question. The besides Dutch Brothers, what company in Southern Oregon, I won't say Grants Pass specifically, but what company in Southern Oregon stands out to you as somebody to look out for?
Ooh.
And it can't be WheelHouse Coffee either.
Look out for in contest, like to me.
Well,
or
you just
in general, like
who you think's doing an amazing job?
Amazing job. Yeah, it stands out.
Yeah. So I think the first, you know, answer your first question. The biggest thing with Dutch is always like customer experience, customer service, culture. I think is the huge takeaway. It's interesting because looking back, that was my whole life so far. I've only ever worked in customer experience. So I feel like Dutch was the biggest building block in how to treat each customer as an individual, and to do that like consistently, and then being able to train other people how to do that. I think that was like probably my biggest takeaway. Yeah. And seeing the value in it. You know what I mean? Like Dutch Bros has this very unique position and demographic that a lot of their customers like probably shouldn't be spending their money there, but they are. And it's for a very good reason. Right. You know what I mean? And so that says leaps and bounds in itself. And so taking that with me, and that's a skill I think you can take anywhere. Right. You know what I mean? And so I think the ability to connect with people as an individual, you know, like not treating everybody the same, but treating each person how they need to be treated. Right. You know, I always use the example of like, when you guys come, you know, we're going to shoot the shit. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk. But when, you know, the little old lady comes and it's our first time, like we're going to turn the music down. We're going to get with her. I'm going to get, you know, level with her. I'm going to explain the menu. It's going to be like this more slow, intimate thing. Cause I know that's what this lady needs. Yeah. Otherwise she's going to be overwhelmed and never want to come back. Right. You know? And so learning that is like probably the biggest takeaway.
That's an amazing skill. Like you said, with any business, like we deal with that with real estate all the time.
And that's the thing is every sector does.
It crosses over everything.
Everywhere.
But people don't see that.
Nope. Yeah. They don't. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then business that stands out to you.
Man, okay. So I was having a hard time thinking of this because there's so many small ones that I think are like awesome. That's fine. I think, you know, like I got to shout out Folia Plant House because it's my best friends, you know. Yeah. But I see young people.
Say that again.
Folia Plant House.
That's right. Yeah. So the Rydell's, right?
Rydell's. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And Jared, one of my best friends, owns Tops and Teas.
I'm gonna try to get him on here next. Or
you should. At least, he'd be awesome for that. He's got an awesome story with that business because it was his parents for so long, and but just seeing
and his wife runs. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Oh yeah, his wife. So his wife owns Folia Plant House, which is right next to the hall on H Street.
Right, and her name is
Keeley.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Keeley and Jared. And so I see young businesses. There's a place downtown on G Street called Onyx Boutique. That's rad.
Okay.
So just small things like that are owned by young people that I think will start to change the layout of our area.
The dynamic of Grants Pass.
Yeah. But on like a bigger scale, I think I'm really interested to see what happens with the Flying Lark.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on that briefly.
Yep.
But I think that people don't quite realize how much people and money that's going to bring to the area.
Oh yeah.
When that is really done and up and running, and in the race that's going to be held here. And I could be totally wrong on this, but it's my understanding that Trav was able to sign like a lease on some big West Coast race that was normally held in Portland, and like their lease was up, and Trav was like, come do it here. And that's why he's building what he is, because there's going to be this massive, thousands of people will come here. And so I'm like almost anxiously excited to see what that just brings to Grants Pass.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of people, and then people seeing that as an opportunity, and then what's like, oh wow, we need restaurants and hotels and, coffee shops and stuff. And
it's going to be opportunity for everybody.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Just there was that thing that came out about the economic impact
Right.
with taxes, just the amount of taxes that business will pay to Grants Pass. Is so much money,
Right.
and so I think I'm excited to see how that plays out for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's on, if there was one on the forefront of my mind, that would be it.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Great answers,
okay.
Brendan.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Not a problem. So tell people your Instagram and your email and all that kind of stuff.
So
Phone number. OnlyFans.
Yeah.
whoa. No.
Where can people find you and stuff like that?
I'm going to tell everyone to get off TikTok, get off of OnlyFans, get off that garbage. But you can find our business. Instagram is at WheelHouse. So it's WHL House. And then our email is info@wheelhouse.coffee. Our website is super easy, wheelhouse.coffee. That's a cool one. But yeah, I'm Brendan.
Right on.
And we own WheelHouse. So thanks guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for
Sure.
coming, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hometown Hustle Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. And for more information or to connect with Daniel and Michael, check out www.hometownhustlepodcast.com. We'll see you next time.